I'm over here in the greenhouse right now at NMSU. I decided to take a little bit of a different approach today for the episode because I'm not going to have a lot of time to be going hiking and stuff like that. I got to cover the MMA classes tonight, so I'm just going to do the places that I normally at, like school, home, stuff like that, but I decided to do a Pests of the Southwest series. So this is going to be the first installment of that series with, probably more to come. So stay tuned. Sleeping Bee. So check it out. I don't know if you can really see. It's kind of hard to tell, but if you can see, if you can't, that's okay. Because look at this fucking yellow sticky trap. One of the pests that you'll find commonly in the greenhouse, especially when it comes to overwatering, you can see how saturated the fucking soil is here on our chili plants. You're gonna find an insect called a fungus gnat, and these little fungus gnats, the adults are more of a nuisance than anything. It's the larva, it's the babies that will feed on roots. So they like highly moist environments. So you're gonna see them occurring. I can't find any other one or any ones that are easy to see, but you're gonna find them occurring on plants whenever the soil is super saturated in very wet conditions. Again, the babies are what chew on the roots. Look, here's look at those little tiny ass bugs. Not that, obviously, but the little tiny ass bugs. Those are going to be the fungus gnats. Like I said, the babies are what's going to feed on the roots, and then you have the adults, which are obviously going to make more babies. The adults themselves, like I said, are not really a nuisance. You do want to keep them under control. One of the better ways to do it, you could use BT, Bacillus thunbergii, which is a bacteria that can get rid of them. From what I've read anyways, I've never actually tried it. Or you could use these yellow sticky traps. You see, the problem with using these yellow sticky traps though is that they don't discriminate. So you'll find bees and butterflies. Shit, we've caught lizards on these. It's not my personal preference on how to get these insects, but they are good for insect counting. So for research purposes, if you want to find out what kind of insects and the populations of those insects that are occurring on your plants or whatever, whatever you got going on, these are good for that type of purpose. They're also good for catching the adults, but like I said, they don't discriminate, so they catch everything. So I'm not a huge fan of using them. If there's another way, I would try to find another way than using these yellow sticky traps, but that's just my 2 cents. Other people are going to have different opinions on it, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't like them. They catch the beneficials, they'll catch the bees, they'll catch the butterflies, they'll catch everything. Good for research, so you can count insect populations and see if they're declining or rising, and controlling the adults so they don't mate and create new fungus gnats that will destroy the roots of your plants. Going off of that though, they say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and so the way to not have fungus gnats, or the best way to control them, is to prevent them in the first place. So don't overwater your shit. Okay, if you overwater your shit, fungus gnats will come. They fucking love it in the saturated soils. Guarantee it. I've seen it. Every place I've ever worked at or managed plants, there's been fungus gnats in oversaturated soil. So prevent it so you don't have to deal with the nuisance later on when you're growing these crops. So here's another type of pest that you'll find, particularly on, well, I mean, these pests don't discriminate. I've seen them on a lot of the solanaceous plants and a lot of the cucurbits. But this right here, see that? That's called, those are called leaf miners. So what happens is the insect will lay the eggs, and then the eggs will start to hatch and burrow into the leaf, and then start feeding on the insides of the leaves. So the thing about the leaf miner is it's mostly cosmetic damage. So unless there's a shitload of them, obviously it's going to disrupt photosynthesis. You can see the lack of photosynthetic cells within that streak of leaf miner trail. So if there's a shitload of them on the plant, then it's going to be detrimental. It's going to affect photosynthesis. The photosynthetic rates of these plants are going to go down because of that. If not, then the best way to go about taking them out, because they're inside the leaf, so insecticide's not going to fucking work because it's inside the leaf. The adults have already fucked off, you know what I mean? So just take the leaf and remove it from the plant, take it to a designated area, and burn it. That's usually what I like to do to deal with leaf miners, because they're kind of hard to catch in the early stages. So you always got to scout your plants, and you always got to make sure that shit is going well, that you're not seeing any insect egg cases or anything on the leaves, and also check the undersides of the leaves just to be safe. So again, leaf miner, it's a pest, but it's more cosmetic damage than really any kind of detrimental, gonna kill your plant type of damage. So check this out. I don't know if you can really see it. It's not fucking focusing like I want it to. But these little green creatures here, these are aphids. So that's another one that you want to watch out for, because what they'll do, they have different insects will have different types of mouth parts. It's starting to kind of focus. There you go. Different insects will have different types of mouth parts. These insects in particular have piercing, sucking mouth parts. So what they'll do is they'll get on the leaf and they'll suck the chlorophyll out of the cells. You can see how this yellowing right there, that's aphid damage. So there are natural predators to aphids, such as lady beetles or ladybugs for the non-entomologist. You also have praying mantises, green lacewings, stuff like that, that are natural predators to these aphids. But the aphids will asexually reproduce. So they'll actually either be born pregnant or they'll pump out clones of themselves, which is kind of fucking gnarly. And honestly, before I took any entomology classes, I thought plants and fungus and stuff like that were the only things that could asexually reproduce. I didn't know that anything in the animal kingdom could really asexually reproduce until I took that class, some entomology classes, and learned about how they can, and actually saw videos on how the aphids can asexually reproduce. It's actually kind of gross and disturbing, but it's also the thing with the pests is that they have like some of the coolest evolutionary tactics. That's why they proliferate, and that's why they do so good. The aphids will asexually reproduce. We're going to see some London rocket here in a second, which has very staticky seeds, and then each seed pod produces, a couple hundred seeds probably per seed pod, multiple hundreds of seeds per seed pod, and they're very staticky. So the benefit to that is that they'll stick onto creatures that can then disperse the seeds, throughout wherever they go. The same thing with mistletoe, very sticky seeds, very good evolutionary, or very good adaptation, really, to, they're kind of like, to me, the insects are kind of like, the nuisances are kind of like the Walmarts of the pest world. They're not good, but they figured out a formula, pretty much, to make themselves like some of the top creatures. Just like Walmart is one of the top stores. These are like some of the top creatures that can survive in multiple different environments. There's two different types of pests. There's generalists and there's specialists. If we have time, I'll show you one of the specialists. But generalists are the ones that don't give a fuck. They'll just attack any plant that they want. The specialists go after particular types of plants. So these aphids, they don't discriminate. They'll go after anything. They'll go after chili. They'll go after cotton. They'll go after. There's not anything that I believe is aphid resistant. There's some things that aphids might not fuck with, but just preference only. But to my knowledge, there's nothing that's actually aphid resistant in the plant world. So watch out for those, and if you do have aphids, release lady beetles. That's what I would suggest, because lady beetles, they're the larva is they're very ferocious eaters. So you'll buy the adults and then you'll release them, but the thing is the adults will just kind of mate and then they'll fly away, and then you'll have the larvae that appear, that start eating the insects, for, like I said, ferociously, and they don't look like the adult lady beetles. They're actually kind of intimidating looking creatures, but look them up, see what they look like, so you know to leave them alone. If you have them in your garden, they are beneficials, so leave them alone. Green lacewings, also beneficials. You'll find them flying around your lights at night and shit like that if you leave your porch light on. Also beneficial. They have a very cool egg case that are on these silk strands. The eggs are on the tip of these silk strands. Look that shit up too, so you can make sure to keep these beneficials in your yard so they can take care of things like aphids and whiteflies and things that they're natural predators to. Now check this out, guys. We got another one here. It might be in the sun here. This is Malva parvaflora. This is on the Malvaceae family. It is cheese mallow. They call it cheese mallow. It'll produce these like purple flowers. It's actually edible. You can chop it up and throw it in your salad. Obviously, I wouldn't take it from here because they spray herbicides and shit like that around the greenhouse. So obviously, know your surroundings, know your environment, know how it's treated before you go foraging. But if you find this growing in your yard and you don't use any Roundup or any type of herbicide or anything that's going to that might potentially negatively affect you if you eat it and it gets into your bloodstream, pick this shit, try it out, eat it. It's good shit, man. Like, you can see the flower almost beginning stages of the flower, but like I said, it'll produce a purple flower, which is, I mean, I don't want to say it's cool. I think all flowers are cool, honestly, but this one's a nuisance. So if you see it in your yard, you can get rid of it. Malva parviflora, cheese mallow, or you can eat it. Cool, so check this one out too. This is a nightshade, Silverleaf Nightshade. So this is in the Solanaceae family, and so it's related to the nightshade family. So it's related to tomatoes and potatoes and chili. It's all in the same family. I don't know the clades and stuff like that, so I don't know if they're distant cousins or brothers or what the fuck ever. And I don't feel bad ripping flowers off of this because this is Pests of the Southwest and this is an invasive species. And then check it out, it's got these little, well, this one doesn't for some reason. Yeah, it does. I don't know if you can see, there's the little tiny thorns on there. I guess those are technically prickles. I think those are just outward expansions of the epidermis, but I don't know, so don't quote me on that. But check it out. This is one of those, the Solanaceous plants, for the most part, except for, well, eggplants are also in the Solanaceae family, but except for Datura, and probably some others too, but Datura for sure. Datura has the trumpet-shaped flowers, which is very uncommon of the Solanaceous species. That's more a Bignoniaceae family attribute. But back to this is Solanum elaeagnifolium, or elaeagnifolium. I don't remember if there's an I in there or not, but you get the fucking idea. Purple Silverleaf Nightshade, sorry. But look at this. You see how there's the little the yellow portions of the flower, the anthers. So these are enclosed anthers. So within them are the stamens that bear the pollen, and the way that they get released, the way that the pollen gets released is by sonic vibrations of things like bumblebees and carpenter bees, and some of the bees that can create sonic vibrations, not like honeybees. Honeybees can't create those sonic vibrations. So what happens is you have these little micropores on top, and the bees will come and they'll vibrate the anthers, and the pollen will come out. So this is just like tomatoes and eggplants. If you're growing tomatoes and eggplants and you see bees in your yard, and they're not the kind of bees that can create these sonic vibrations, then they are most likely not pollinating effectively the plant. But you can use, electric toothbrushes and stuff like that to be able to remove the pollen from this plant, or tomatoes or eggplants or whatever, and then pollinate the next flower over. The thing about it's like the analogy I like to use is like a salt shaker. So if you hold a salt shaker just completely upside down, none of the pollen's going to come out, or none of the salt is going to come out, I guess, in this case, in this analogy. But when you shake it, all of a sudden the salt comes out. So that's why it needs these sonic vibrations in order to pollinate the flower. Solanum elaeagnifolium, or elaeagnifolium. Like I said, I don't remember, but you get the idea. And if you see these plants, remove them. I also believe that they produce these little yellow berries, and they're toxic. I believe they're toxic, so don't eat them. Okay. Oh, and then while we're here too, check it out. This right here, weedy tree species. If you see it, get rid of it. It's Ulmus pumila, which is Siberian elm. This is one of those trees, along with the salt cedars, that are displacing the native cottonwoods along the Rio Grande. So if you see them, get rid of them. Honestly, the landscapers should come here and get rid of this shit like right away. Unfortunately too, I have one that occurs in my backyard. The thing about it is, it's not my house, it's a rented house, so I can't just kill it. It's a full grown fucking tree already, so I can't just kill it. If it was this stage, I would just cut it out. But it seeds everywhere. It's populating. It tries to populate all over my yard, but I cut that shit out before it can, or rip it out of the ground before it can. These are not good trees, okay? I don't ever really advocate killing biological life, but these are not good trees. These are what's displacing the native cottonwoods along the Rio Grande. So fuck these trees up if you see them, okay? For me, and for the cottonwoods, and for all the native vegetation and bird life and insect life that occurs here in the great state of New Mexico. So here's another one I want to show you. I'm including this in the Pests of the Southwest, even though I like it. It's Dandelion. And the reason I include it in Pests of the Southwest is because it is it's not really a pest in my opinion, but they call it a pest because of the turfgrass industry. They don't want these dandelions growing on their turfgrass for some reason, but it's some of the first flowers of the season. It's some of the first sources for bee food, so I like to leave them. I like to take care of them. This is a Taraxacum officinale. Dandelion is from the French Dandelion, which means lion tooth, and it's named that because of the shape of the leaf. It looks like lion's teeth in a way, so these are actually very, very high in vitamin D, I believe. They will actually take the roots and they'll grind them up and they'll make a powder and they'll make tea out of them. So they're actually very, very nutritious. If you ever eat them raw, they're very extremely bitter. But a lot of times when you run into shit that's bitter, you're just that's the medicinal components of the plant actually coming. So if you try stuff that's cultivated and then go and try it in the wild, it's going to be a lot more bitter in the wild because of all of these different compounds that it produces to evade predation. So it's a cool plant. If you can make some coffee or tea out of it, I would recommend it. Again, don't take it from places like this where, you know, they obviously are going to spray this shit. It's a university, so they need to keep shit under control, and the easiest way to do that, unfortunately, is by spraying a shitload of toxic chemicals on the plants to kill them, and that's not the type of shit that you want to be ingesting. Okay, so just be careful, be mindful of your environment, be mindful of where you forage, and how the land is treated. Okay. So I've talked about this one before. This one, it's Campsis radicans. I don't remember what episode I mentioned it in, but look, there was an insect in there. But this is a trumpet flower. This is in the big Noniaceae family, and it is very invasive. So it comes from the etymology, I guess, of the word campsis is derived from something that means bent stamen. So you can see in there, the stamens are the male parts of the flower. You can tell, or you can remember that easily because stamen. Oh, and then check this out. Look, twice-stabbed lady beetle. So when I talk about beneficials, I don't want to scare it off, but that's a beneficial right there. That's an adult twice-stabbed lady beetle. Okay, so it'll mate, it'll produce eggs that turn into larvae. Look, there's another one. And then they will go and feed on some of the... Look, another one. They're all over this fucking plant. That's crazy. But they'll feed on the creatures that are nuisances. So leave them. Twice-stabbed lady beetles. In the Coleoptera order. So they're true beetles. They're not true bugs. That's why when people call them ladybugs, they're not entomologically correct, I guess. But anyway, these will take over fucking buildings. Look at that shit. I've shown you that before if you watch previous episodes. But these they resemble the Tacomas. You know, they kind of have the same flowers. They're both in the big Noniaceae family. But these ones are not good. The leaves are totally different. Flowers kind of look the same. The Tacomas don't have bent stamens. But these ones will take over. They'll start climbing telephone poles and shit like that. As you can see, they start climbing the houses or buildings or whatever, you know, whatever it is that they're next to. So I would remove these as well. I wouldn't let them grow, you know, too much. And then check this out. Maybe I don't know what the fuck is going on here. I can't even get a clear shot of it. But some weird mass ball of fucking something that's kind of like moving on this plant. And I have no idea what the fuck it is. But anyway, Campsis radicans, trumpet creeper, big Noniaceae family, not good. Will take over buildings. Get rid of it. Alright guys, so check this out. This is a species of ash tree. This is Fraxinus valentina, the Arizona ash. So, you see what's going on here? This is caused by a creature called Eriophyid gallmite. Eriophyid, I believe. Eriophyid gallmite. But this is, what happens is the insect, the mite, will get into the male flower. It doesn't fuck with the female flower for some reason. I don't know. But it'll get into the male flower, and it'll the flower it'll start eating it from the inside, and then the flower will proliferate around the insect, forming these galls that kind of look like mid-grade weed, I guess. So another little pest. This is a tree pest. This is, like I said, they're generalists and specialists. This is a specialist. Eriophyid gallmite is special to the Fraxinus genus, particularly Fraxinus valentina, the Arizona ash. So check this out, guys. This is the species I was going to show you. This is London Rocket, Cimbrium ereo. This is a brassica. This is in the Brassicaceae family. Each one of these is a seed pod. They'll start off green and they'll mature. See, that's the immature side, and there's the mature. So they'll start maturing to this reddish brownish type of color, and each one of these seed pods, this elongated seed pods, will have a shitload of seeds per pod, and that's why they spread so easily, because of that having a shitload of seeds per seed pod. So there's thousands of seeds per plant that get produced. But check this out. This is in the Brassica family. This is in the mustard family, Brassicaceae. You can tell because a commonality of the Brassica family is that these flowers will have 4 short stamens, 2 tall stamens, and they'll have 4 petals and 4 sepals. And these flowers are very minute, they're very small. So without looking at a microscope or without having a a smaller lens or some shit like that to be able to actually see the stamens, you have to look very, very closely. It's going to be very hard to capture on the phone. So, but anyway, this is London Rocket. This is what the leaves look like. Brassicaceae. It's in the Brassica family. The cool thing about the Brassicas is that not all of them, but a lot of them can be used as what's known as a biofumigant. So they produce these compounds called glucosinolates that whenever the plant will wither up and die, these glucosinolates will be produced, and they'll have or even sometimes when the plant is alive, but they'll have anti-fungus and anti-nematode properties. So one of the things that is being studied at NMSU right now is by one of the weed scientists is using mustard seed meal, so ground up different types of ground up mustards, and using them as biofumigants to see if they have an effect, statistically significant effect on the plant, suppressing fungi and nematodes. So that's kind of cool about it. But these plants are very invasive, so like I said, they're spread by seed. So if you see them, remove them. They can also serve as alternative hosts for things like leafhoppers, which transmit curly top virus, which has been seen in a lot of the chili fields out here, very prevalent in the chili fields out here, especially this season because it's gotten hotter. Average record temperature is hotter than it was last season, so more conducive for these insects to hang out on these plants and then go transmit the curly top virus to the chili plants and some other plants as well. So get rid of them if you can. Pull them. I never recommend spraying stuff. It might be easier, more convenient, but it does more damage to the land and the soil and the ecosystem than just pulling the shit out or getting a hoe and chopping it out. But again, there's another one that grows around here called shepherd's purse. I don't remember the scientific name for that one, and I didn't cover it in this episode, but in future episodes I'll cover it. That's another brassica. And again, it's mustard family. If you want to know how to identify something in the mustard family, they'll generally have 4 short stamens, 2 tall stamens, 2 petals, and 2 sepals, or 4 petals and 4 sepals, sorry. And then I think that was pretty much it for this particular plant. Oh, there's one other cool thing I want to show you. Stay tuned. So check it out. I told you guys that the London Rocket, the Cimbrium ereo, is very staticky, and the benefit to that is that it'll cling to things. It'll cling to bird feathers and shit like that. You know what I mean? But check this out. Just to show you how staticky they are, you can actually move the seeds without touching them. If it'll focus. See that? See how the seeds move? The seeds up here aren't moving because they're on the top. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but they're on the top of the Petri plate, so it's very hard to tell. But let's see, we got some seeds down here. All these seeds are on top, so they're not going to move because I'm not rubbing the top. But look, it keeps focusing in and out, which is kind of annoying. Alright, we're going to focus it. Maybe. Maybe not. Motherfucker. See that seed jump? So you get it. You see what I'm talking about. You see the seeds moving? Okay, there we go. It might not be the clearest picture. It might still be blurry, but you can see the seeds moving without me even touching them. I'm just rubbing the bottom of the glass. Of course, these are the ones that are on top, so they're not fucking moving. But, that's kind of the cool thing. Let's see, look. I just turn it upside down so I can get some of the ones on top to show you. See? But isn't that cool? So, that was the last thing I wanted to show you. So that'll do it for today, guys. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of time to hike, so I was kind of multitasking and doing both my lab work plus filming, you know, for this episode when I would go out to the greenhouse, because there's a lot of invasive species growing out over there. So that'll do it for today. You know, I don't know how long the episode is going to be or whatever, but be sure to check it out. And then if you have not checked out the episode yesterday, check that shit out. Sorry. But I'm super excited about the episode yesterday because I found a flower that I've been looking for fucking years that I've never seen. I've seen the plant. It's not a rare plant, but to see it flowering is very rare and uncommon. So check that shit out. It's super fucking cool. Like, subscribe, share this shit. Help me grow the channel. Let's learn about some native stuff. If anyone is interested on coming onto the show and being a guest on the podcast, I'm going to reach out to people and see who wants to be guests on the podcast. But if anyone wants to volunteer to be a guest, then fucking shout me out. And it doesn't have to be plant related, doesn't have to be science related. It's just going to be a conversation between me and the guest based on what they're doing. A lot of it might be science related because that's just the field that I'm in, or plant related because that's the field that I'm in and my educational background. But it doesn't have to be. There's a lot of cool people out there doing a lot of cool shit, and I want to get in touch with most of them and give them an outlet to come on and tell their story and let people know what they're up to, maybe support some small businesses, give some shout outs and shit like that. So again, like, subscribe, share the video, tell your friends, fucking whatever you can to help this shit grow. Okay? I appreciate y'all for being here. Thanks for checking out the podcast, the ones that support me, the ones that have checked out the previous podcasts as well. I appreciate you guys. Okay? So I'll see you in the next podcast, which is going to be tomorrow, which is going to be guest number 1. Let's fucking do it.